Good evening. Today is February 9th. This is the Parks and Recreation Board. I hope everyone's well. I looked at the agenda. We have a good agenda today. I'm looking forward to digging right into it. So let's begin with the flag salute. So please stand with me and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. Thank you. Ms. Santauriaga, can you do the roll call, please?
Chair Maisha Gamino.
Here.
Board Member Ara Maserlian.
Here.
Board Member Barry Gasell.
Here.
And absent is Lori Durbin and Ashley Ramsey.
Thank you so much. We have quorum tonight. Mr. Altman, will you please share any announcements?
Good evening, Chair Gamino and members of the board, and thank you to everyone for joining us this evening. My name is Noah Altman, Administrative Analyst, and tonight I have the pleasure of sharing the department's program announcements and updates. Please begin the slideshow. Thank you. The Burbank Animal Shelter is holding a vaccination clinic on Wednesday, February 22nd for our furry friends. The clinic will be held at the animal shelter located at 1150 North Victory Place from 3 to 5 p.m. Vaccines will be given by appointment only. Please call 818-238-3340 to schedule your appointment today. For more information about the vaccines or about other services, please visit burbankca.gov/animal shelter. Each month, the Parks and Recreation Department partners with the Burbank Public Library to host the Story Owl Hour. Each event features a nature-themed topic, and library staff reads a story, and Parks and Rec staff leads an activity. I'll bet it'll be a hoot. The next event will be held Thursday, February 23rd at 10 a.m. Don't forget to bring along your library card, as library staff will have a select few books each month, and they will be available to check out through the public library. For questions and more information, please contact the Stow Canyon Nature Center at 818-238-5330 and register at burbankparks.com. The Wild Creatures Hike is a monthly docent-led hike where you'll learn about animals in the area. The next hike is Sunday, February 26 at 11:30 a.m. Children under 12 must be accompanied by an adult. Extreme weather conditions may cancel the hike. For details and to register online, please visit burbankparks.com. The Betsy Lukey Creative Arts Center Gallery will host the 2023 Fine Arts Federation membership exhibit. This is a juried mixed media exhibit representing artwork from over 60 artists. The opening reception will be held on Friday, March 3rd from 7 to 9 p.m. at the Betsy Lukey Creative Arts Center. The exhibit will be on display through March 23rd. For gallery hours and more information, please visit burbankca.gov/blcac. It's time to start planning a fun-filled summer with the amazing programs offered by the Parks and Recreation Department. Come join us at the Summer Camp Fair for the opportunity to preview the various summer camps, meet some of our camp directors, ask any questions you may have, all while having some fun with games, demos, and prizes. The fair will be held at Johnny Carson Park on Saturday, March 4th from 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. Register at burbankparks.com. Come check out the great view of the moon on this Parks and Recreation staff-led hike to the View, located on the trails at the Stow Canyon Nature Center. The next hike will be Monday, March 7th at 6:30 p.m. For more information, please call the Stow Canyon Nature Center at 818-238-5440 and visit burbankparks.com to register. Thank you. This concludes the department's announcements.
Thank you, Mr. Altman. It is time for presentations. However, I see that we don't have any in the queue. So next would be our Department Director report. Ms. Garcia, do you have a report?
Good evening, Chair Gamino. No, I do not.
Thank you so much. Okay, it's time for public comment period. So, for members of the public who are here in person and wish to speak, please present a completed yellow general public comment card to the recording secretary. Any person speaking during general public comment may address the board on any matter related to the Parks and Recreation Board. Comments are limited to 3 minutes in person. In order to promote fairness, please stay within your maximum allotted time of 3 minutes. A timer will be available at the podium to help the speaker keep track of how much time is left. And if you are remote or calling from home, I encourage you to call in during this period of time. You can call in by dialing 818-238-3335. Callers will be placed in a queue until all in-person comments have been received. For callers, please remember to lower the volume on your TV or computer. Take your phone off of speaker when you deliver your public comment. And at this time, we will start with in-public comments, if there are any. Are there any? Okay, there's no in-person comments. Thank you. Mr. Altman, are there any public comments on the phone?
There are no callers at this time.
Okay. So seeing no speakers, we will now close the public comment period. Ms. Garcia, are there any written communications?
And no, none were received.
Okay. Park Board, do you have any comments that you would like to share or any updates? Including reporting on any liaison assignments? Yes, Mr. Casal.
Thank you, Chair Gramino, and welcome, everybody. I had the wonderful opportunity this morning to go to the Cultural Arts Commission, something that I don't get to do very often because of my work schedule, but it was great to go. They have a board that has great passion, every single one of them. They are heavily endowed in the arts, and they just love what they do, and it was fascinating to hear them. And so today's agenda was great. We went over the media district. They went over the media district specific plan, and then they had a special events discussion because they are intending to do some special events to get the word out that we do have a Cultural Arts Commission for those who don't know about it. And it was my pleasure to go sit with them for a couple hours. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Board Member Casal. Yes, Board Member Marcillian.
Good evening, everyone. I just wanted to bring to attention for parents that have children that are in grades K through 5 and 6 through 12 that there is a upcoming Youth Art Expo coming up at the Betsy Luke Art Center. My daughter participated in it last year, and we had a blast just having her submit her artwork and then going and seeing all the kids and their amazing art with a really cool reception. So really encourage any parents out there whose kids are into art, or if they just want to use their imagination and be creative. You can learn more information online, or you can go to the Betsy Luke Art Center. There's some information there that you can learn about. I believe the submission period is, I don't have the exact dates, it's mid-February to like early March-ish. So definitely take advantage of that if you have the opportunity. Really cool event.
Thank you so much. And I joined the Arts and Public Places meeting, and like you, Board Member Gasal, I had the opportunity to meet with some of the Cultural Arts Commission members. They're very enthusiastic and provided a update on the utility box paintings, which is about to launch. And that was just such a pleasure to see the great artwork that is scheduled and will be coming to our city. And the Arts and Public Places Committee approved some funding or recommended funding for that project, and I'm just really excited to see what comes out of the new scope of work called New Art on the Block.
And I think we should mention that, sorry to interrupt, that they have a theme for this next group of boxes. They're all going to be along Hollywood Way, and the theme is soaring, all
Love
related
that.
to the airport. And that might be something that just happened, so.
Looking forward to seeing that beautiful artwork. It's just amazing when I drive through it and be able to see all the artists that are making a difference in our city. So thank you for sharing that. Okay, so thank you, board members, for your comments. We're going to move on to new business. The first is the Brown Act and Public Records Training. And I'd like to introduce Ms. Jill Vanderbort to be able to provide that training for us. Thanks for joining us, Jill.
Good evening, commissioners, members of the board. My name is Jill Vanderbort. I'm a senior assistant city attorney. I work downstairs for the city. I have a slideshow. We're going to be talking about a topic that we love and appreciate in the city attorney's office, and we hope you do here as well. The Brown Act. So the Brown Act is California's open meeting law. I'm going to quote briefly from the text of the law. And you'll excuse the Simpsons theme, I hope. The people of this state do not yield their sovereignty to the agencies which serve them. The people, in delegating authority, do not give their public servants the right to decide what is good for the people to know and what is not good for them to know. The people insist on remaining informed so that they may retain control over the instruments they have created. So the crux of the Brown Act is for the public's transparency in the business of its legislative bodies. So both the Brown Act and the Public Records Act are part of California's sunshine laws, erring on the side of doing the public's business so that the public can have access to that business. So the Simpsons are going to demo what we're trying to avoid here real quick.
That's odd. Why are all those cars parked at City Hall? Ay, caramba!
Welcome to this secret meeting made possible by the fake disaster drill. And now for the reason we are here. The results are in. This town has voted unanimously to get rid of Springfield's unending nightmare, The Simpsons.
Oh!
Okay, so a little bit of levity there on a serious topic, right? We're trying to avoid the public's business being done behind closed doors, as in the case of The Simpsons there. There are consequences for violating the Brown Act. Your decision can be challenged in a civil lawsuit where a successful challenger can have attorney's fees, and any board governance that a city council or commission has done that's challenged and held to have violated the Brown Act can be invalidated in that action. If a board member or commissioner willfully intends to deprive the public of information it has a right to know, there are potential criminal penalties. So we're trying to help here so that we keep everybody on the straight and narrow. This is Homer having a little sampling today as we're going to sample provisions of the Brown Act. I won't take up too much of your time, and this is not meant to be fully exhaustive. There are many other provisions, many other special aspects of the law that we're not going to cover today. So the basic rule of the Brown Act: all meetings of the legislative body of a local agency shall be open and public, and any person shall be permitted to attend any meeting of the legislative body of a local agency except as otherwise provided in the Act. So why am I talking to you, Park Board? You are a legislative body, right? And you, as such, as a legislative body of a local agency, the city of Burbank, you're subject to this law. So other entities that are covered under the Brown Act, your city council, any commissions, committees, or boards, and any regular subcommissions or subcommittees, standing ones with ongoing jurisdiction, are covered under the Brown Act and subject to the provisions therein. You're doing an excellent job thus far, by the way. Everything, the agenda, the public comment, obviously. So I'm not here to I'm just here to be helpful, not because there's an issue. There is an exception, ad hoc advisory committees of a board or commission or a council. Generally, those are composed of less than a quorum of the board or commission. They're designed to be temporary or limited in scope and purpose. I don't know the specifics of your board if you have any ad hoc committees, but those would be exceptions from the Brown Act. So what is a meeting? How do we know if you're having one? It's not always clear, believe it or not. A meeting includes any gathering of a majority of the members of the board at the same time and place. So we're having a meeting today here to hear, discuss, deliberate, or take action on any item within its subject matter jurisdiction. Right? So I'm sure you're all familiar with the subject matter jurisdiction of the board and the work that you do. I pulled it for you briefly. It's in the Burbank Municipal Code, section 2-1-410. Right? There are 6 provisions that empower you to do the work that you do and describe the subject matter that this board covers. I'm not going to go through them all now, but You can research that on your own time. So what's prohibited under the Brown Act? Any collective concurrence or agreement of this board by either direct communication, that's an obvious one, personal intermediaries or technological devices, unless you satisfy the open and public requirements of the Brown Act. So again, these can seem very obvious, but especially in the internet age, what constitutes a meeting or what could compose a violation of the Brown Act is not always clear. We just went through COVID, right? And there was special limitations on the Brown Act or special rules for remote meetings. Those have since ended, and now we have a new set of rules. But mostly they have to be in person. But if you're all on a Zoom together and you all start talking about anything in the subject matter of this board or commission, you have arguably had a meeting, and that should have been subject to the open and public requirements. Anything on the internet, social media, if you post something and you interact with each other's posts, I know that seems a little bit over the top, but again, you're doing the public's business. So if you're promoting the public's business and then interacting with each other, obviously, not obviously, but you could potentially be deliberating, right? Or coming to an agreement or doing business without providing notice to the public and adequately allowing them the opportunity to weigh in. So personal devices and public records during meetings. We all have our cell phones. A lot of us have iPads. Arguably any material that you use or rely upon or communication you have during meetings could be subject to the Public Records Act and is under the Brown Act covered. Again, we're erring on the side of transparency here, right? Sunshine laws, this is designed for the public to know rather than to keep them out. So that's an area to be careful. So an exception to meetings, if you have one-on-ones with non-members, if you ask your staff, you call up your staff liaison, you have a question for Ms. Garcia, those do not constitute meetings, provided you're not facilitating an indirect discussion, right? Board member Gasau calls Ms. Garcia and says, "Oh, can you tell my fellow commissioner that I think this should happen," right? So as long as you're not avoiding a chain through your one-on-one with staff or other non-members, members of the public, right? They want to hear what you have to say one-on-one. Other forms of non-meetings, open and public meeting by a person or organization other than the agency. So if you go to a PTA meeting, conferences that are open to the public, social or ceremonial events. We all go to the tree lighting or the Memorial Day commemoration event. Those are not meetings. A quorum of your body can attend. The asterisk there is really the complication, provided that a majority of the members do not discuss amongst themselves business of a specific nature that is within the subject matter of the agency or the board or the commission. So in all of these things, we just have to be careful, right? These are some silly Simpsons examples of non-meetings, right? Disco Stu invites all the members of this board to a disco at his house. You're not likely to violate the Brown Act if you all attend, right? The music is loud. You're there to disco. You're not there to discuss the subject matter jurisdiction of this board. Same with a sort of a classroom setting there. The lyrics workshop with Tom Petty. A quorum of this board could likely attend without issue. Some more non-meetings, open and notice meetings of other agencies if you all want to attend the city council meeting as a majority, and then open and notice meetings of standing committees of the board. Does this board have standing committees? No. Okay. You are really easy. Again, provided that with the asterisk there, right? Anytime there's more than a quorum of you or a majority discussing amongst yourself, deliberating, you have potential problems. Some pitfall scenarios that we see a lot, obviously in the age of the internet, these are made even more easily violated. A daisy chain scenario. Mo tells Homer, hey, I really would like you to support my new project at Verdugo Park. And then Homer tells Lisa, we're going to support Mo's new project at Verdugo Park. And then Lisa tells Janie, and then we violated the Brown Act. Similarly, here Homer is the hub in a hub and spoke example. Same concept, right? Instead of a chain, you have Homer relaying the same information to 3 other commissioners, and then you have a Brown Act violation because they have deliberated and discussed, but there hasn't been an open and public meeting. So how do we have an open and public meeting? You know this. I've told you already. You've done an excellent job, and your staff is helping you. We need an agenda. The agenda has specific posting requirements. It has to be 72 hours before any regular meeting, and it has to reasonably describe the topics to be discussed so that the public is aware of what those items are and has adequate notice, right? It can't be so broad, that it is Parks and Recreation, because otherwise I wouldn't have notice of what you're actually going to discuss. And it probably shouldn't be so overly specific that is limiting to you in any discussion. So you are limited to your agenda in an open and public Brown Act meeting. The action or discussion on any item not appearing on the posted agenda is generally prohibited. There are some exceptions to that. Members, that's covered in the next slide. You can briefly respond. Thank you, member of the public. I appreciate your perspective. Thank you for coming down. You can ask questions for clarification. Ms. Garcia, can you address that public comment and explain what the budget is for Mountain View? You can make brief announcements. You can also provide brief reports on your activities, reference to staff for additional factual information or research, and ask them to report back at subsequent meetings. You all seem very well versed in this, so I hope it's useful information. Public access to meetings obviously has to be open and accessible in all senses of that word, including anyone with disabilities. We've had occasional misunderstandings. Somebody is having a Brown Act meeting, but the door is locked, right? Doors have to be open. The public has to truly be able to access the meeting. And access to the agenda materials, as I said in advance, and an opportunity for public participation, which you have in your public comment and in response to the agenda items. Thankfully, the public's right to access your meetings is not unlimited. There are some general rules of decorum. You can adopt them by policy. And then the government code here prohibits willful interruption to your meeting. So you can remove people as long as you have given them a warning. Probably not an issue in the work that you do, thankfully. And then closed sessions are also an exception to the open meeting requirements. I occasionally, there are real estate items. I don't know if you have any closed sessions, but there's specific reasons under the code with which you can have them. So with that exciting and hopefully worthwhile presentation, I'll take questions if anyone has any.
Board members, do you have any questions? Board Member Casal?
Thank you, Jill. That's better than the trainings we used to have to do. I like that better.
Oh, good. Thank you.
Much better. So I have a question. This is kind of a little weird, but so let's say that 3 of us were sitting in the audience at a city council meeting, and I came to address the council on an issue that had something to do with Park and Rec. Would that be a violation?
Is that the agendized issue at the council that day?
No, it was in public comment. Anything to do with the city of Burbank?
Arguably, yes, because your comment publicly at the council meeting, totally fine. If you come back and sit with your other members and continue the line of talking or analysis, then you're getting into a gray area.
But my comment is fine.
Your comment's fine, yes.
Thank you. Thanks.
Thank you, Board Member Casal. Jill, this is very helpful. I really appreciate it. I think we all have our books here, and we're familiar with them. However, I do appreciate the reminder and the refresher. I think it's really important, especially in the digital age. So thank you for spending time with us today. Board Member Marcillian has a question for you.
Sorry, I know you went through the public comment component. Just want to be very clear. So if there, we've had certain issues where, pretty quick, not much public comment. There's certain that's brought, a lot of public out and had comments. So just to be clear, can more generally acknowledge and say thank you and get clarity on things, and then refer to the staff to help clarify other things. But we can't necessarily, I guess, just for clarity, provide our opinion or anything in that moment. Is that accurate?
That's correct. Yes,
Okay.
it can be very tempting and it's a little bit unnatural, right? But unfortunately, you can't dive into the substance of anything made in open public comment if it's not on the agenda.
Got it. Thank you.
Are there additional questions for Jill while we have her?
I'm available. I'm downstairs.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Okay, well, with that, we are moving on to receive an update on the roller hockey rink and the annual report. So can I have Jennifer, Ms. Lev, please join us? Thanks.
All right. Thank you, Chairperson Gamino and members of the board. Again, Jennifer Lev, Recreation Manager over Sports and Aquatics. Myself, along with our roller hockey rink provider, Scott Floman, and his main man, Dave, will be presenting the PIM Roller Hockey Rink Annual Report this evening. If you can start the slide. Okay. So the city entered into an agreement on December 2017 with PIM to lease and operate the roller hockey rink, also known as the LA Kings Burbank Sports Center. We are currently in the first agreement extension, which will continue through January of 2028. I want to take a minute and mention some of the incredible resilience and creativity that we saw from PIM during the COVID closures and protocols that lasted into the early parts of 2022. Mr. Floman and his team vetted numerous ideas and continued to offer programs and provided for the Burbank community, which you will see here shortly. As a part of their agreement, PIM, along with the city, worked together to outline facility improvement operations and programmatic goals and objectives, which is evaluated on a yearly basis. PIM is in compliance with their facility upgrades, program offerings, extended special event offerings, and operational upgrades. Now, for the rental terms, so for this reporting period, PIM has contributed and paid an amount of $21,000 in fixed rent. As stated in the agreement, the monthly gross revenue payment has increased by 3% this year, totaling a 6% gross revenue that continues throughout the duration of this contract and will be charged in the event that the quarterly gross revenue exceeds the fixed amount. So that's kind of the description of how these payments are made. Okay, so at this time, I will go ahead and turn over the presentation to Mr. Floman to share with you the highlights of the LA Kings Burbank Sports Center offerings from this past year.
All right, how is everybody doing today? Excellent.
Hello.
This is Dave. All right, so we'll start off with our youth programs. So one of the biggest things and challenges that we had was trying to bring a kind of a roller hockey kind of took a dive, over the last decade compared to what it was, going back to the 90s, 80s and 90s, where it was like the hottest thing around. So we had to come up with different ways of driving in different programs. And one of the biggest things which Dave developed was doing youth hockey clinics, which we offered for free to bring people in, and through another sport, which is ball hockey. So it's something that's easier to play because you play on it with a tennis shoe, ball. I mean, you wear gloves and you have a helmet and all that, but it's something where you can introduce kids to playing without having to learn how to skate, because that's one of the most difficult factors of learning hockey. And so, and Dave, I mean, you can comment on it, the numbers from when you started to.
Yeah, our ball hockey program has been an awesome feeder program into our roller hockey program, and just oh yeah, sure. So this is a photo that you're looking at of our 6 and under ball hockey league. So we do these spring leagues now, fall spring leagues with those age groups. Kind of stay away from the winter months so much now with all the rain and the cold weather that we've been getting. So we're gearing up ready for the spring league now with the ball hockey and our roller hockey programs, starting at the end of March. But we do weekly clinics throughout the whole year, every Wednesday, 5:30. Cost is very affordable at $10 per child. So we try to keep all that, and we supply all the gear to all the kids for first timers. And it's been an awesome program. So we're really excited to look towards the spring season. These are our camps. You want me to just keep going?
Okay.
These are our camps. So we partnered with a program called Los Anarchists, and they have roughly over 150 kids now in their roller derby program. We do summer camps with them, and we also do tournaments and weekly rentals and clinics and practices. So they've been a great addition to the Burbank Sports Center, and the community's really embraced them. There's all genders out there that are a part of this program. So we're excited about that program as well, and it's continuing to build. Our skating schools. So we have done 2 skating schools now in the last year, and both of them have over 40 to 50 new roller skaters. During COVID, as you probably all know, we were locked indoors, so people were looking for a way to either go out, ride bikes, roller skate. So roller skating really took another huge step back into. So what we've done is we went out, we bought a bunch of rental skates. Now we offer public skating along with our skating schools. So we'll go to the next slide.
And wait one second, let me clarify one thing. So the difference is they're not inline skates or the skates that are like in a straight row. This is going back to, which has got real
retro.
popular, quad skates. So
Yeah.
we put in I think we're in about $17,000 or $18,000 in rental skates, but it has become.
Oh, yeah. So we offer public skating Friday nights, Saturday, Sunday, and Monday now. So what we did was, with all of our downtime that we had away from all of our sporting programs, it was kind of like we found another business within the business. So the roller skating has been great. The community has really embraced it. We've had police officers and local firemen that work for the city of Burbank come out with their families. It's been awesome. So, knock on wood. This is our adult roller hockey program that you're looking at here. We roughly have 35 adult teams, and that's growing season by season. It's just we only have so much time in the day to offer it, so we can't really grow too much more. The lights do go out at a certain time of the night, and we try to get our programs in before 10 p.m. So yeah, that's our adult program. And more for our roller derby. In the last couple months, and actually in the last couple years, we've had teams from Nevada, Idaho, Washington, Texas, Arizona that come to play against our local Burbank team. They rent the facility out for 2 days straight. It's awesome. We just did one a couple weeks ago, and our next one is scheduled for March 15th. So I'll send you guys some information on our next roller derby tournament. So the one on the left is our ball hockey skills clinic. So we do a youth skills clinic every Wednesday at 5:30 p.m. As I mentioned, the cost is very affordable, and you don't need to know how to skate, which Scott had mentioned is one of the hardest obstacles to learn how to play the game. This is played in shoes, and that's for our youth program. And then that's a picture on our right of our adult hockey program, our adult ball program, and it's every Wednesday night, and we have a 6-team division on Wednesday nights. So a lot of the guys that never grew up learning how to skate, they can still come and play hockey in their shoes, and they love it. So a few pictures of our public skating events. So, as I mentioned, we offer a family skate night every Saturday and Sunday from 4 to 7 p.m. The admission, very affordable, $7 for admission. If you need rental skates, we have rental skates on hand, $5. Photo in the middle is just some girls having a good time, and guys. And little information on one of our Friday night sessions. It's every Friday night from 6:30 to 9:30. And if any of the board members want to come down and skate, bring your families. It's on the house. We'll take care of you guys. Private rentals. So we do offer quite a bit of private rentals. They're usually big roller skating events. We actually have one this Saturday night. It's a Skate Oddity event. It's a Valentine's Day event. And as you can see, the skaters just come out, they dance. It's a great time. It's a good vibe. We've been doing it now for 2 years, and knock on wood, we've had no trouble. We have a great park. Diego and Jen and all of the support has been amazing. So.
And we do different themes, so sometimes it'll be an 80s night, it'll be a disco night.
Yeah.
So we mix it up, so it's not like you get the same thing every time, and it's really great because a lot of the customers come and they dress based on the theme of the night, which is awesome.
Yeah. Yeah, you'd be surprised at how many old school skaters out there can't skate to rap, but they can skate to disco, and they can't skate to this, and so we kind of have to offer a little bit of everything to kind of capture them all. So that's what we do. And we also offer birthday parties on weekends. We're pretty much booked from 8 a.m. till 1 p.m. every Saturday and Sunday, and then so we have from 1 p.m. to 4 p.m. that small window before public and adult hockey starts that we offer birthday parties, and so that's kind of our window on Saturdays and Sundays from 1 to 4. And yeah, that's about everything. Any questions for you guys?
We do have questions. I see a couple already, so why don't we start off with Board Member Marcillian?
Yeah, thank you for that. We've done the family skate night, and it's really, really fun. The kids are into skating, and my daughter was in one of those pictures, actually, with the camp. She did the anarchist roller derby over the summer, and had an absolute blast. And you guys did a great job. It was a little hot out there, I remember that time, but yeah, she had a really good time, so I think she'll be back this year. But yeah, my question was going to be about the birthday parties, because I know we've rented out the pool before, and I was wondering, because that's a really cool idea. So yeah, it sounds like it's, it's a good program, and you get the facility to yourself, or how does it work?
We rent the facility out. It's a 2-hour minimum, and then you're allowed to bring some food and drinks in there, and you're allowed to stay within the premises there. And you get rental skates, so bring your cake, your kids, and yeah, it's an awesome time. We play music for you. We offer a DJ if you want to do a DJ. So there's a few different packages that we offer.
Cool, thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Board Member Gasal.
Thank you, Chair Gamino. So, welcome, guys. And I was actually out looking at the parks a couple of weeks ago. You had a roller derby training going on, and I loved it because it took me back a few years. But I thought that was great use, and and thank you for doing that. But I have a question. Family skate night. Are there any age requirements for somebody to have to wear a helmet?
So we do offer rental helmets.
Let me answer the question. So roller hockey's under AAU, and so there's requirements. There's no, as far as protective goes, you don't have to wear, there's no age requirement for a helmet or to wear a helmet at all for a recreational skate. If you're playing hockey, you have to wear, if you're playing hockey, you have to wear a helmet, you don't have to wear a cage. So that's kind of where that does. The same thing works for ice. You can skate on ice without a helmet, but if you play hockey, you have to wear a helmet, but you don't need a face shield. So that's kind of the.
You don't need a face shield in youth hockey any longer?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
Yes, you do.
in youth hockey you do,
Yeah,
but
any hockey.
Yeah, but if you're just skating
In public
in
sessions.
public sessions, you don't need a helmet.
We offer them because a lot of people do wear wrist guards and knee
Yeah.
pads and butt pads and all that kind of, so we offer that for them.
Okay, thank you so much.
Yeah, absolutely.
I have a question. Thank you, Scott and Dave, right? Did I get
Yes.
your name right? So if skating is a barrier, I appreciated that you talked about the barrier of skating, especially nowadays, because the kids aren't always going outside and skating. If it's a barrier, how do you transition them from running around on their tennis shoes to eventually skating on a league?
So what we do is, I would say that I recommend that they would come to a clinic or do a private lesson with one of our skating directors, or go into skating school. And it's a 6-week program, our skating school. Our directors are amazing, the coaches, and I would almost guarantee you after a 6-week session of skating school, your little guy or little girl will be on their own and getting ready to go. And if not, then we just offer another skating school session until they get to where they need to be before we offer them. Yeah.
Good. I'm glad to hear that. Thank you for sharing that. And then how do residents learn more about skating? I see that you have social media, but it was a little small for me. So how do they learn?
Yeah, so we just are in the process of rebuilding our website, and we've been speaking with Jennifer and Diego about using you guys, the tools that you guys offer, as getting more information out. We haven't done a great job. We've done a lot of that on our own, and now what they have to offer, we're going to fully take advantage of that and kind of go that route to build up more in the city. We're packed. I mean, we're busy, but any help that we can get to add to that would be awesome. So.
Oh, good. No, I just wanted to make sure that. So, what's your social media handle? Or
So our social media is LA Kings Burbank Sports Center. That's the Instagram, and then the Facebook is LA Kings Burbank Sports Center.
Okay,
Facebook,
perfect.
yeah.
I just wanted residents to be able to hear it, just in case they
follow
want
us.
to
Thank
come
you.
by and visit.
Absolutely.
If I may also add, I believe we do include information about the program in our recreation guide, which is available online, and we do print some copies. So
Yes.
Great. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Sounds wonderful. Thank you both for the report.
All right.
All right. Thank you.
Nice to see everyone.
Thank you, guys. We'll see you soon. Thank you, David. Thank you, Jen. Thank you, board.
Thank you, guys.
Okay, so now we are skating on into the next session or the next part of our agenda. Mr. Altman, please provide us with the next agenda item, which is solicitation for feedback and input on the replacement of the Santa Anita Play Lot Playground.
Thank you. Good evening once again, Chair Gamino, members of the board, Noah Altman, Administrative Analyst. And tonight I'm going to be providing the board with a brief overview of the Parks and Recreation Department's solicitation for feedback and input on the replacement of the Santa Anita Play Lot Playground staff report. So if you could please begin the slideshow, thank you. The department strives to be the heart of the community by providing enriching opportunities through dedicated people, beautiful parks, and inspiring programs. The department is responsible for providing 43 well-maintained recreation facilities as well as programs and activities designed to meet the recreational, cultural, social, and human services needs of the Burbank community, including residents and visitors. Understanding the value and benefits of the parks of park playgrounds, the department has a replacement schedule for playground equipment citywide. The schedule reflects the age and condition of the equipment as well as industry standards and compliance regulations. It is for this reason that the department is replacing the Santa Anita Play Lot playground equipment, which was last replaced in 2011. As you can see, the PowerPoint is going to show a few slides of the existing playground. The playground, while safe, has exceeded its useful life. For this reason, it is necessary to replace the playground equipment to ensure compliance with the Consumer Product Safety Commission guidelines and current Americans with Disabilities Act requirements. And now in the next few slides, you'll see some conceptual renderings of the Santa Anita Play Lot playground that were shared at the community outreach event held on January 28th at the playground. The renderings include the renovation of the Santa Anita Play Lot playground, a pocket park serving the area located in the former Verdugo Lake Focus Area neighborhood. As with existing play equipment, the new equipment will be for age groups 2 to 5 and 5 to 12 years old. The scope of work will include removal of the existing and installation of new playground equipment. Features that may be incorporated include swings, slides, climbing, and spinning components and/or musical instruments. So this is just like kind of a general encompassing the entire playground rendering, and then a few different angles and focusing on a couple different components. And these were printed on poster board, and we shared these with the community to view at our community outreach event for any additional feedback that they might have. Being that this project will assist low to moderate income residents, the department successfully secured $282,328 in Community Development Block Grant Program funding. Additionally, the department will submit a Los Angeles County Measure A grant application to offset the anticipated balance needed to complete the project. To meet the requirements for LA County Measure A grant funding application, the department is required to complete community engagement. The first community outreach event was concluded on January 28th, conducted on January 28th from 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. at the San Anito Playground. The purpose of this event was to seek community input on the renovation of the playground. So we included a few pictures of that event. It was a nice community event. We had some interactive activities, including a Design Your Ideal Park activity. The Park and Play staff were out there providing fun and games, and we had hard copies of the survey and even some free donuts. So again, just some pictures. Those were the renderings that we printed on poster board that we had on display. So it was a nice community event. So at the event, approximately 30 community members attended and provided feedback on the conceptual renderings. A preliminary feedback received include the following. These are just comments that were collected on surveys or just in conversation as well. Maintain the existing playground color and toddler swings. Add features including benches, picnic tables, a climbing element to an existing tree, restrooms, receptacle bags for dogs, ADA accessible swings, multi-level water fountain for adults, children, and pets, art elements, a slide attached to the climbing structure illustrated on the conceptual rendering, remove sand, install rubberized floor material throughout the playground, do not downgrade the playground structure, and do not remove all sand, were some of the comments received. As part of the project's marketing plan, the department advertised the January 28th community event and Parks and Recreation Board meeting, which is tonight, through various marketing outlets, including distributing marketing materials and surveys that were translated in Armenian and Spanish, advertised in the department's monthly e-newsletter, delivered flyers to residents who live within a 1,000 square foot radius of the playground, posted social media advertisements, and coordinated a city council announcement. So these are just a few examples of some of the marketing materials. This was a poster that we printed. These were the different translations that were available. Our social media posts that we provided. This was our monthly e-newsletter from a mobile view, so it was included in there as well. And we also had a survey that is also still available. So if people, the survey is still available, so if anyone would like to participate by either scanning the QR codes shown on the screen or by visiting burbankca.gov/Santa Anita Playground. Notably, the project has been determined to be categorically exempt from environmental review under the California Environmental Quality Act pursuant to Section 15302. At this time, there is no fiscal impact with the report. Staff recommends that the board discuss and provide any feedback they may have on the proposed replacement of the Santa Anita Playground. So that concludes my presentation. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Altman. Are there any comments from the board? Yes, Mr. Gasau.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Chair Gamino. So, thanks, Noah. Great presentation. Two questions. First of all, it says, someplace here it says, the first community outreach event. Is there going to be another one?
So this board meeting, since it was on the agenda, is considered another opportunity for community feedback and engagement, and we have the ongoing survey and a dedicated webpage.
Okay, so there's not going to be another event?
No, so the first one was the 28th, and then tonight's technically a second one.
So my second question, and this is interesting to me, because now that I have a 2-year-old grandson, I find myself in the parks a lot, and I notice things that I wouldn't normally notice. So sand is a question for me. I see that we're using these rubberized surfaces in a lot of areas, and then there's still some sand in some areas. And I don't know, I guess every time that I look at the sand, I wonder, what's under there? So what's our take on sand versus no sand?
A very good question, Board Member Gasau. We're actually transitioning away from sand for multiple reasons, but really accessibility is super important. So when you have sand, if you have individuals who have some mobility issues, that becomes problematic. Sand is and has always been a feature that has been good for just, development and mobility and just for kids and that sensory. So a lot of our parks, I think a couple years ago, as we started renovating our playgrounds, we've been transitioning and removing our sand. Yes, there could be some hazards in the sand, and that is also a concern of ours. We do have our parks landscape staff that inspects our playgrounds. They do clean the sand. They'll rake it. They'll turn over the sand and try to keep it as safe as possible. But that is also another concern and why we're also moving away from sand. I hope that answers your question.
Thank you. Yes, it did. Thank you. Thank you for your presentation.
Board Member Mercillian.
Yeah, the one survey feedback that stood out to me was do not downgrade the playground structure. I know that was a very hot topic with George Isaiah. So I'm looking at the renderings and I'm trying to compare the two. They seem pretty relatively similar, if not a little bit better. I can't really, it looks that way to me. It looks like there's enough here that is conducive for really young toddlers and enough, I guess, for a little bit older kids. I guess, was that something that was vetted, and do you guys feel good and comfortable that there isn't sufficient play structure here for like that 8 to 10, 8 to 12-year-olds?
Really good question. Yes, there was a lot of learning opportunities with the Isaiah Park Playground, and absolutely your observations are accurate. What the renderings, and again, this is going to go out to bid, but we had these renderings just to give our residents and our board members just an idea of how can the playground look like with the new with the replacement. And we actually are looking at augmenting, so adding more than what's currently there. Certainly we will have those elements for the younger kids, but absolutely having those features that we've heard loud and clear that our older children like, whether it's spinning or higher slides and those sorts of things, is absolutely what we're hoping to do, as well as keeping the swings, which are very, very popular.
Great. No, thank you. I think that's great to hear, and I'm happy to hear that. And I definitely, I know that there was that was a thing with Isaiah, and I'm really happy to hear that we're addressing that and really making sure we're allowing kids a little bit older to have those types of structures that they can enjoy as well. So appreciate that.
Board Member Casal.
Sorry, thank you for allowing the follow-up. I've spent more time in the parks, and we have a tendency to go to the same one most of the time, but go to others. And what happened at Isaiah Park is lodged in the back of my mind, because I know that became an issue. And I look around, and I have difficulty finding a lot of things that I think 12-year-old children would enjoy. It has to be a real challenge for the people that manufacture those and for the people on our staff that have to purchase them. Because it's difficult for me to find things that a 10 to 12-year-old, I think, would really enjoy that's safe.
Absolutely. I think children these days, right? It takes a lot to really engage them. You may be familiar with our playground at Foy Park, which is very, very large and mega, yes. And that is it's certainly a trend in our playground field. Unfortunately, a lot of our existing park spaces and our footprint were playgrounds. We cannot do the mega play structure that we see at Foy Park, but where we can and when we can, we will absolutely be looking at adding some of those play elements that will be more engaging and cool for our 10 to 12-year-olds.
Board Member Marcillian.
Sorry, last thing. Following up on Board Member Casal, sorry. So I'm thinking, no, I was thinking of something else and I have just lost my train of thought. We went with my two kids to Griffith Park this weekend, and there was a really cool thing there, play structure, I guess you could say, and it'd be really great to look at that if space permits when we're looking at, which was, for a lack of a better word, it kind of looks like a zip line, but it's not a zip line per se, but it looks like that, and you can sit on like a round little thing with a rope, and it takes you across, and then there's one that you sit like in like this swing chair, and I mean, that thing was popular. A lot of kids that were like a little bit older loved it, so I'm sure you guys have seen those, but yeah, if there's ever space, those are really hot, and I think would be great for the older kids.
Absolutely. I will tell you that my staff and myself, when we attend conferences, playgrounds, the structures is one area that we really look at. We try to stay on top of those kind of the trends, and we're being a little bit more proactive and aggressive when we're seeking funding from the City Council through our CI capital improvement program to make sure that we're requesting sufficient funds to help us build really cool playgrounds and making sure that we're meeting the needs of our community, which is why these community engagement or community outreach meetings are super important to us, because trust me, I have a lot of staff who have children or have staff who are younger, and so they absolutely are looking at it from not only from a professional, right? We put on our professional hat, but then you take that off and you put on your personal hat, and what do your kids want to see, or what do you like to see? So absolutely, sure.
Thank you for receiving our feedback. I just have one question. I understand that we will be going out to bid, and I also understand that we'll continue to receive and solicit community feedback. However, what's the projected timeline?
I don't know.
I apologize. I don't have the exact timeline of when our community engagement phase is going to close. It's going to end. I would imagine it will probably be within the next month, at which point we will be working with our purchasing division purchasing division of our financial services department to go out to bid. And I will tell you that probably my guess is that this playground's we're not going to break ground and replace it until after the summer. So more like fall, winter so end of 23, beginning of 24.
That's very helpful. Do the CDBG funds expire?
There's reporting requirements. They are very well aware of our timeline and our schedule, and the funds are not in jeopardy of being lost. So,
Thank you so much. I appreciate that. Okay, well, thank you for that update. We appreciate it. Or do you need anything else from us apart from the feedback that was already shared?
I think that was great. I was taking
Okay.
notes, so thank you.
Thank you so much for sharing this rendering with us. Look forward to seeing what's next. Okay, and then now we will receive the budget update from you, Mr. Altman.
Yes, so good evening once again. So the next item that I'll be presenting on is the budget update for fiscal year 23-24. We could please begin the slideshow. Thank you. So tonight's presentation will cover the following topics: budget basics, parameters, budget deadlines, capital improvement projects, and some important dates. The City of Burbank's Park and Recreation Department, again, strives to be the heart of the community by providing enriching opportunities through dedicated people, beautiful parks, and inspiring program. The department is organized into 4 divisions: administration, facility operations, landscape and forestry services, and community and recreation services. The department also provides a variety of recreational and community programs, including special interest classes, youth and adult sports programs, day camps, after-school programs, nature programs, cultural arts activities, a congregate and home-delivered meal program, aquatics, senior recreation activities, volunteer programs for residents of all ages, and year-round community special events, just to name a few. Annual fiscal year budget planning begins in early January. The Financial Services Department Budget Division prepares an annual budget guide providing detailed instructions and assistance to each department with the preparation of their respective budgets. Altogether, the budget preparation process takes approximately 6 months. The budget is a financial document using projected revenues to create an expenditure plan approved by the city manager and adopted by the city council. The budget process is generally an incremental one, which starts with an historical-based budget, and requests for changes in appropriations are made at the department level, then compiled and reviewed by the budget division. The city manager reviews all the requests and ensures that all budget decisions are in full accordance with stated council policies and all applicable federal, state, and local laws and regulations. So this graphic just kind of gives a kind of life cycle of the budget. Just all the stages that it takes. The Parks and Recreation Department has an annual operating budget of $28.9 million and employs nearly 214 staff during its peak programming season. The department's budget is comprised of 2 funding mechanisms: the General Fund, Fund 001, and the Municipal Building Replacement Fund, Fund 534. The Municipal Building Replacement Fund is utilized for building maintenance and capital improvement purposes, while the General Fund supports the department's programs and services. So this graphic, this is referencing this current year's budget, shows all the breakdown of appropriations for all the different city departments. So you can see police and fire take up the majority, but Parks and Rec has a nice, healthy budget along with all the other departments. So this next graphic just shows on the flip side, shows all the breakdown of all revenue sources for the city. So the majority comes from property and sales tax, and then a variety of other taxes and service charges and fees. So kind of interesting to see where all the money's coming from. So it's probably kind of hard to read on over the computer, but this is a list of all the budget funds. As mentioned before, the General Fund and Municipal Infrastructure Fund are the department's primary funding sources, but this list is a comprehensive list of all the different funding sources. Prior to the start of the budget process, the city manager reviews the 5-year forecast to set parameters for the new fiscal year. At that time, procedures are established to guide the budget staff and other departments in their review and submission of budget requests. Specifically, new positions and upgrades, changes to MS&S, capital outlay requests, and any capital improvement project that requires special attention and consideration. The city manager established the following parameters for the fiscal year 23-24 budget. New or upgraded position requests, materials, supplies, and services, and capital outlay requests must be supported by enhanced revenues and/or offsetting reductions in other accounts. Estimated revenue enhancements will be counted on a 2-for-1 basis. For example, if a fee is increased and the anticipated revenue from the increase is $60,000, only $30,000 would be allowed to count towards that request. Priority will be given to new budget items that support council and labor initiatives and/or will ultimately create recurring budget savings or enhanced revenues. And lastly, the request to replace fully depreciated assets will also be accepted. The first budget deadline was January 27th and included material, supplies, and services requests, new or upgraded position requests, and capital outlay requests. A few of the funding requests that the department made included the following. Funding for the Park and Play program, including an adaptive sports festival, 7-on-7 soccer league staffing and equipment, aquatic program staffing, after-school days and summer days, program staffing and supplies, the Burbank Arts Utility Box Beautification Program, contractual obligations for Day Laborer Center, custodial services, and BUSD Joint Use Agreement, utility increases, funding for the PASS program, funding for DeBell Golf Club, and Burbank Animal Shelter operations. So those were some of the requests that we made. The second budget deadline is February 10th and will include budget worksheets, budgeted position changes, revenue projections, and fee schedule changes. During the budget cycle, the department has the opportunity to evaluate positions and submit for position title and costing changes to improve the department's staffing efficiencies. An important cornerstone of the budget process is projecting revenues and increasing fees as appropriate. Annually, the department evaluates and forecasts revenue estimates. The citywide fee schedule is adopted annually by council during the budget process. This comprehensive document includes a categorical listing of fees such as those related to permits, rentals, land use, and zoning, to name a few. The third budget deadline is March 31st and will include agreements and contracts lists and department narratives. The agreements and contracts list is a summary of existing or impending agreements or contracts for consulting, design, or other professional services. This list is used to inform the purchasing staff of whether an item has been presented to and approved by the City Council during the budget adoption process. The department narratives are printed in the budget book and provide a quick snapshot of how the department section funds are allocated and spent. The Capital Improvement Program remains a vital component of the annual budget process. A separate CIP budget serves as the city's strategic capital improvement plan depicting the total investment required for current and anticipated capital projects for the next 5 years. CIP improvements include renovations or additions to all public facilities. The Infrastructure Oversight Board, also known as IOB, was created to provide oversight on expenditures for the city's infrastructure by reviewing and recommending projects to the City Council for funding. As such, the department's CIP requests will be reviewed by the IOB along with all other city project requests. It should be noted that not all projects proposed will be funded in fiscal year 23-24. Annually, the department coordinates a Park and Recreation Board facility tour to review the department's infrastructure and maintenance needs. The purpose of this tour was to provide the board with an opportunity to visit department facilities, parks, and amenities, and this was also an opportunity for the board to learn about department programming. During the October 27th tour, staff provided updates and completed improvements and discussed future enhancements. In preparation of the annual CIP submission process for fiscal year 23-24, the department evaluated the unfunded needs list, which included playground, restroom, shade structure, and fitness equipment replacements, as well as sport court resurfacing. This year, the deadline to submit CIPs was scheduled for December, which is earlier in comparison to prior years. So consequently, the department assessed and prioritized needs and identified the following projects for consideration. So those projects included the ball field lighting at Schaefer, Brace Canyon Park Ball Field, DeBell Golf Improvements, DeBell Irrigation, Dick Clark Dog Park, Foy Park Irrigation Replacement, George Isay Master Plan, Johnny Carson Park Stage Structure, Maxim Memorial Park Irrigation Replacement, McCambridge Irrigation, McCambridge Park Playground Replacement, Picnic Facility Improvements at McCambridge, and Valley Park Ball Field and Skate Park Shade Structures. Proposed funding for these projects derives from multiple funding sources that include Art and Public Places funds, Burbank Athletic funds, Park Development funds, Community Development Impact fees, and the Municipal Infrastructure Fund. These projects were selected based on the department, board, and community identified needs. This includes improving safety, general enhancements, improving efficiency, replacing outdated or worn amenities, and overall enhance park infrastructure. So next listed on this slide is just a list of upcoming important dates related to the budget process. This list includes information for the IOB meeting dates for the review of CIP projects, as well as city council dates dedicated to reviewing and approving the budget. So with that, that concludes my presentation. I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you, Mr. Altman. Board members, do you have anything to say? Board Member Gasell?
Thank you, Chair Camino. Thanks, Noah. Great, as usual, great report. So I have a couple of questions. I hope there aren't too many. First question I have. On page 2, it lists the number of funding requests, and on that funding request is a Burbank Arts Utility Box Beautification Program. So is that Parks and Rec or is that Cultural Arts? Because that was a discussion at the Cultural Arts Board meeting this morning. And it sounded to me like they had control of that, but is it their control, our budget?
So the Cultural Arts Commission is obviously under the Parks and Recreation Department. And this one in particular, funding is actually coming from the Art and Public Places Committee's fund balance, which are developer fees, money from the developers. So we included, this presentation is inclusive of all of the department's requests, while the Cultural Arts Commission is a separate body that is appointed by the City Council. It's still within the Parks and Recreation Department, which is why it's listed here.
Got it. It was just for clarification, because I know they've done a really good job with getting those things taken care of. That program's gone on for what, 3-4 years now?
I think since 2015.
Yeah,
maybe
since
longer.
longer,
Yeah,
yes.
I don't keep time well. I wear a watch. I don't know why. But they've done a great job, and I think their plan this year, as they explained it this morning, I think is great, with a theme, and I think it's great. So that was just curiosity. So my next question is, on page 4, the CIP proposals, it says Dick Clark Dog Park. So are they getting ready the LA City getting ready to wrap up that project so we can jump in there next year?
Yes.
Or is that just here for looks? 'Cause
No, they are actually, the update that I got on Tuesday is that LADWP will be wrapping up that project at the end of June.
wow.
So as the board may recall, staff brought forward the design to get the board's input. So the design is complete, nearly complete. We're making some tweaks to that design. We will then, so the request is there's a gap. So as the board may recall, we were using various funding sources and we're a little bit short on what our consultant's cost estimate is, which is why we're asking for dollars from through the budget process to make that project whole.
Cool.
So a year from now is my hope to be doing a ribbon cutting for the dog park.
Having sat on this board for a couple of years, I am very, very excited to see that happen, because our city deserves that. Watching the community garden at Pass Avenue and Chandler Bikeway and watching people in there working, it just warms my heart, because that was also from before I ever joined this board. I think that's 17 or 18 years that's been going on, and it's great. And I'm glad people had patience with us, except for Laverne. And so my next question, sorry, I got a couple more. The Johnny Carson Park stage shade structure. Do we have any idea when that's going to happen? And let me tell you why I'm asking. At the Cultural Arts Commission this morning, they're talking about an event. And one of the places, and they've decided instead of trying to do that event in May, to do that in the fall, and one of the places they would like to hold that is Johnny Carson Park. And they asked the question as to whatever happened with that shade structure. And I said to them, I think that was a 2023, 2024 budget item. I don't think it was 22, 23, I think it was 23, 24, which means that can't start until after the 1st of July. But do we have any idea when that's going to, is that one of the things that's going to get funded and going to happen sooner rather than later? Do we know that yet?
Yes, just a little history on that. Last year, so for this current budget cycle, we had requested Fund $534 to build a shade structure over the stage at Carson Park. That was one of the projects that was not funded through the process with the Infrastructure Oversight Board, and it ultimately did not go before City Council. So our strategy this year is to make that, to do a call for artists and have that shade structure be an art element. So the funds, again, we're tapping into our restricted art funds, public art funds, which there's sufficient funding. Now, that being said, so it's going to go before council. I'm confident that this project is going to be approved because we're using restricted funds that can only be used for art. So if it's an art element, we're hoping that will be approved. We will not have the funds available till July 1st. And I will say that because this is being proposed as a public art installation, it's a process, right? We have to do a call for artists. So it's going to take us a little bit of time, but we will be moving on this fairly quickly. It's a different team that works on public art installations, unlike the other team that manages just construction projects. So it'll be moving forward. I don't know exact timeline, but it'll be a little bit of time.
Okay. Sorry, folks. I have just two more. So are you going to tell me, is the same situation with the lack of funding for that shade structure in 22, 23, the same as with the developed golf improvements from 22, 23? Because I think in 22, 23, there was approximately $475,000 was the request from the general fund. And part of that, I think, was to finalize or fix some of the cart paths. And I know we have cart paths going in on, I think, 7, 8, and 9, I think is what we're planning to do, which is cut back because that doesn't complete them. There's no cart path on 2, 4, 5 as well. But so is that same, that 475 was within that 687s? So has that cart path been pushed out to 23, 24?
So if I understand correctly, the 475 was dollars that were approved in this current budget. The 687 is new dollars that we're asking for to be funded during next fiscal year. So this is going to augment the budget that we would have to continue making the much needed improvements at the golf course.
Cool.
So it is our hope that, the golf course, with all the improvements in the management, we've been able to prove the success. And the more we invest in that facility, we have been seeing a great, return on our investment there.
Cool. Thank you.
Sure.
And thank you for your patience.
Marcillian.
Ms. Garcia, I just have more of a general question, more educate me type of question, and that is, so I see a list of items here that are on the capital improvement project funding that seems like they've been approved, right? Is that correct? These are approved things, and then there's also a unfunded needs list, and you want to add things to that. My question is like, how do those work? So if it's not on this list, does that mean then anything else would then go into fiscal year 23, 20, or 24, 25 then at this point? So if it's not here, that means nothing's going to happen with anything else for the next year, essentially? Is that accurate, or how does that work?
Yes, that's accurate. So I will just mention that these projects are not approved. These were our priority projects as staff and with the board's input that we felt were priorities for various reasons, right? Like irrigation. Some of these things are not super sexy projects, but they're much needed because of inefficiencies with irrigation and just obviously trying to maintain our costs. Same with lighting improvements at our ball field. So we gauged, and obviously our playgrounds, we need to make sure that our playgrounds are safe, and some of them are a little bit older than what we would like. So these are the staffs, and then coupled on top of that is also, because these projects are managed by my team. And so it's also balancing that workload. Do we have the capacity to manage all of these projects? And because the team is fantastic and they divide and conquer, so we have multiple project managers within the department. So yes, this is what's moving forward. My goal is to engage the board and bring our unfunded needs list to the board, in addition to our normal tours that we have during the year, to really look at what is on our unfunded needs list. Do we need to add to it? And then prioritize that unfunded needs list so that we can hopefully start putting those on these requests on an annual basis to make sure that we're doing our core projects that need to be done, and then maybe some other,
So if there's an unfunded needs list, then that means, and those are things that haven't been funded that we want to look at,
Correct.
which means then they wouldn't go into effect technically until the following
Correct.
fiscal year, which means by the time those even get started, so you're talking at least about a 2-year process,
Correct.
essentially. Got it. Okay, so my other question is then, these are capital improvements, so like, what does that mean? Like, is there like a certain money threshold? So what if you want to do an improvement that's $50,000? Is that a separate thing that's just like a nominal that can be approved and done? Or do you still have to go through the 2-year process? Because obviously there's things that there's interest in getting done, but people don't want to wait 2 years to get them done. So how does that work, I guess? Is there a money threshold, or how does that work?
It's a little bit of money threshold, but really the scope of the project. So to address your question, we do have a separate ongoing fund or a budget for maintenance items. So when it comes to like resurfacing our courts, and that's just done, we have a pot of money that is allocated on an annual basis to do our maintenance. So that addresses some of those smaller projects that are not, it's not a capital improvement, right? And so I don't know, what that threshold is, because some of these projects are, $500,000, right? When you're talking about playgrounds, and then some of them are, some of these items you'll see is just design work for the lighting or design work for irrigation. But yes, there are, depending on what the project is, if it's a smaller, those are things that we could potentially fund with our maintenance dollars. Or there could be, as with like the dog park, there was a sponsorship where the city was really fortunate to receive funding for that. So there are different ways in which we can move projects quicker than having to wait 2 years from now. Oh, sometimes longer, yes. Yes.
Excuse me. We've had things we've had to kick down the road because something's come along that we felt, whether it was our board or the staff or the city council, felt that the priority was more important. It got kicked down the road. I can tell you, dog park is one of the things that got kicked down the road for years. What did we have? At one time, we had, $170 million in unfunded, approved projects? That's going back pre-pandemic. But we were dying to get these things built, but until Measure P came along, there was no place to get funding. And thank God for Measure P, we get a little bit of funding from that. Because otherwise, a lot of these projects would get kicked down the road again, because what's more important, health and safety or dog park?
Board members, are there any additional questions? No, okay. Thank you for that report, Mr. Altman. Thank you, Ms. Garcia, for answering all those questions, and we appreciate the detailed report. It's clearly, everyone read it, and we appreciate it, so thank you so much. Okay, with that being the final presentation for this evening, we're moving on to the consent calendar. All matters in the consent calendar are considered routine by department staff and may be enacted on by the board with one motion. There will be no separate discussion of these items unless the board votes on a motion to approve the recommendations, board member, staff, or public requests that specific items be removed. So in our consent calendar is the approval of minutes, and the remaining are to note and file the city council agenda items update, our monthly contracts compliance report, the park patrol report for November and December, and the department operations update. So can I have a motion to approve the consent calendar?
Could I ask a question first of
Please.
staff? If I have a very brief question about the compliance report, do I have to pull that out if I have just a brief, quick question? I'd like to make a motion to approve the consent calendar as written.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Ayes have it. So now approved. Thank you very much. Okay, so are there any tabled items? I didn't note any. Board members? No? Okay, so are there any additional comments from the board? Mr. Gasal, did you have a comment relating to the?
I have a question about the compliance for the tennis center. Am I crazy, or is that $39,000 a big number? Different than we normally see
I can answer that question.
for January?
So that's an annual
That's it.
figure. And so this is the total of what was over rent payments, but you're correct, it is above average. And they had an above average year coming out of the pandemic that they have been able to successfully sustain through that period. So it is a healthy number, and activities and programs are thriving at the tennis center.
And I hate to ask a follow-up question that my friend Steve will hate me for, but did we split off pickleball from tennis, or do we know what kind of an addition pickleball is made to?
I can tell you that the revenues that you're seeing are reflective of tennis activity. The pickleball activity is a very small portion of that total sum.
Fine. Thank you so much. Appreciate that.
Thank you, Board Member Gasal. Are there any, would either of you like to introduce any new board items for our board agenda for the next time? No? Okay, excellent. Well, then with that, with no additional items, then I will conclude our meeting. Our next meeting will take place on March 9th, 2023. Have a great night, everyone. Thanks.
Hope.
Is it possible to add something? We have an issue at Peekaboo.
I can't hear you.
There was no second public comment.
No, yeah, we don't have a second public comment. We're happy to give her my public rule.
Staff was here, so you ask them.
Yes?
Yes. Well, I mean, the meeting's done, but you can ask staff.
Oh,
We can have an offline conversation after the meeting is over.
okay.